So here we are again in the Eclipse IDE, and we're going to make a new Java project, and we'll call it not that. We're going to call it button in pane. And now let's create a new class, again by the same name. And now I've gone ahead and copied, and now I'm going to paste the code for this demo into here. And again, we don't need that stuff at the bottom, so let's just go ahead and remove it. And before we actually run the demo, let's step our way through the code here. Well, we have all the same imports that we've already talked about. I think perhaps this is a new one here. We're importing stack pane because we're going to be using a stack pane of all the different types of panes in this particular demo, and we'll look at each of those panes momentarily to see how they all work. So the demo is called button in pane, and the difference is we're going to drop the button into a pane first, which in turn will drop into the scene and ultimately into the stage. So we're going to create a new object called pane right here of class stack pane, and this line is how we do that. So we've now got ourselves a stack pane called pane. There is a getChildren method associated with panes that you can use to then produce something akin to the array list that you saw earlier. And having done that, what is sitting right here in this blue section of code is effectively an object that represents something like an array list that we can then use the add method to. So in other words, we can say pane.getChildren.add, and then we can add a child to this effectively array list sort of structure. And what we're going to add is a new button with OK on it. So we've seen this before. Once again, this is an anonymous button. We have not given it a name, but nevertheless we're dropping it into this pane. Now that it's in the pane, we can go ahead and put the pane inside of the scene, and we do that exactly the same way we dropped the button into the scene before. So the only difference is that instead of seeing button sitting right here, we instead see the name of the pane that we're dropping in this stack pane called pane. Apart from that, it's still going to be a 200 by 50 stage, and that means it's going to be a smaller window than we saw before. It's 200 in the X dimension, but only 50 high, so it's going to be wide and short this time. And then we're still going to put a title on our stage, so this is the title that will appear on the window, button in a pane. We drop the scene into the stage right here, and then we show the scene. So let's run this and see what it looks like. So here we go. And there you have it. So again, the window is 200 this way by 50 this way, and because we've dropped the button into a pane, it winds up by default this time being centered in the pane, so it doesn't occupy the whole pane left to right and up and down, but it's simply a normal size, default size button dropped still into the center of the pane. But now you can see that we have a small button, and notice when I move the cursor, only when I get right inside does the button change its appearance. It changes its color slightly, but the surrounding part does not, because this is not part of the button this time. The button is only this piece that you see right here where the cursor is, and this is just part of the pane with nothing in it. So we now have a way of dropping a button in and having it look like a button this time, that is staying the appropriate size. We didn't exercise any control over where it went. It's still centered, but now that it's in a pane, we could make it in a very specific spot if we wanted to. And obviously we have affected some control over the size, because this time it's not occupying the whole space, but it's a more normal size button in the middle.